Hello, and welcome once again to Mary's Virtual Body Positive Healthatorium. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we cope in this world that has gone completely insane. If my spacebar will advance my slide, that is. Here we go. So, what happens a lot is when people are trying to cope with something that is just so overwhelming, some of us retreat into almost like our own little world, and we're meditating all the time, and we're being what I would call toxically positive, like we must not think bad thoughts, stay positive. But that is so hard to do in this crazy world. And is it really useful to just shut it out and to just think good thoughts, positive vibes only? Can we really do that and get through this life? Now, I think mindfulness and meditation are essential to a human being's way of coping with life. I have found it to be extremely useful because I'm a praying woman, and I find that I'm talking to God and the higher powers when I'm praying, but the answers that I get back, that happens through meditation. So I want to talk a little bit about what meditation is and what it isn't, and how that helps us go forward, you know, with action and with involvement in the world in which we live. And so some points that I will specifically touch upon are detachment, how meditation is not the goal, how we need to practice radical acceptance and radical love. And we do this by performing everyday actions that are sustainable to our lifestyles. Now, with this constant information, if you're watching the news at all, it just changes every day. You stop to react to something that's going on, and the very next day, like something completely different is happening and something completely worse. And I think it's meant to be that way. I think that's the design of it, is to overwhelm us. So we're experiencing a lot of emotional overload. We're experiencing burnout. Even when we are trying to be good people, it leads to fatigue. It's like, why am I even bothering? And we have this temptation to just kind of check out and ignore the world and just, kind of roll back on our privilege if we have it. I'm just going to go into my own little world with my own little orbit and worry about my people and my pets and myself, and screw the world. And this is a trauma response. So while all of this is understandable, this is not coming from a place of strength, and we need to tap into our strength. We deserve it, and the people around us deserve it, and the world needs it. So let's talk about detachment versus apathy. When I first started my yoga practice and my meditations, I had a teacher who was talking about detachment, but when I was seeing um, in their real life is they were kind of apathetic. And I'm like, do we really want that? I don't know if I could be that. But what detachment is, it's clear, calm awareness of what is going on around you, and you're just seeing it for what it is. So, for example, if there's a storm, you might complain, oh no, it's raining. I'm going to get my suit wet. I just did my hair. It's going to be ruined. Or you see that it's raining and you say, it's raining. And then you take whatever actions you need to take to not get wet. So in one case, I'm reacting in a very overly emotional way, and I'm getting mad, I'm getting upset, and I'm over already have ruined my day before I've even walked out the door. And in the other scenario, I'm just accepting what is and making preparations to deal with it. And that's what we want to do. And that's what detachment is. We're just seeing it for what it is and we're dealing with it. Now, apathy, what happens is we're getting bombarded, with bad news, whether it's in our relationships or in politics or what have you. And it's so intensely emotional that you actually go the opposite way and you become numb and you stop caring or you just stop paying attention. And this is not helpful. It's not helpful to you and it is not helpful to the people around you. Detachment engenders stability and action. So when I'm just saying it's raining, then I take very deliberate steps that I need to take so that I don't get wet. Okay, I'm coming from a place of strength. I'm making my own choices. Apathy, is I'm not walking out this door because it's raining. And maybe I had a bad experience when I was a kid with the rain, and I'm afraid of lightning, and this is a trauma response. Now, of course, a thunderstorm cannot compare to what we've been going through in this life, in this world, in this society. But it's the same. Uh, it's the same motivation that we use to either whether we're coping with a rainstorm or with what's going on in our world. So, like I said before, meditation is a tool, it is not our goal. There was monks that sit on top of the world in Nepal and they pray and they meditate and they never come down off that mountain. They just live in their own little cloistered little, community. And they're up there and they're always praying for us, which I think is wonderful. That's their job. They've trained that for that all of their lives. But most of us are in the trenches, you guys. Most of us have to cope with the world. We have to pay our bills. We have to deal with our health issues. We have to raise children. So it does not behoove us to just sit in a room and meditate and not do anything else. In a way, we're kind of falling back into apathy if that's all we do. But meditation is vitally important. It calms the body, mind, spirit complex. It engages the parasympathetic nervous system, which, is that feed and breed part of your nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. And that's the anxiety, that's the fighting back, that's the tension. And you need a little bit of that, but we're overwhelmed with it. So we need to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system so that we can relax, so that we can sleep, so that we can think clearly. Meditation helps us expand our emotional space. So when we're upset, we're very closed. And we don't, as my mother would always say, we don't see the forest through the trees. We're just very focused on that obstacle in front of us. And we're reacting to it in a really inappropriately large way. And that obstacle is not going to move, and we're not going to move with it because we're freaking out. So, meditation helps us expand the space to just let it kind of flow in and out. because you're never going to stop emotion. It's going to come, but we have to let it go as well. Meditation also creates awareness because we either focus on one thing and eventually in our practice, we start to focus on nothing and we become an empty vessel. And it's only when we're empty vessels that we can fill ourselves with love because we're so accustomed to feeling fear or agitation or hate or pride. And there's no room for radical love in a body, mind, spirit complex that feels those things. And so we have to do our best to empty ourselves so that these higher powers can take place in us. So again, meditation, essential, but it is not our final step. We have to be people of action. We have to be agents of change. So let's talk about what radical acceptance is. It invites us to see reality clearly and without judgment. Okay, so there's a war. Well, there's a war. The world is filled with war, always has been, always will be. I can't freak out about the one that's going on right now. I just know that it is, and I cannot stop it. So I don't like it. I don't have to accept it for whatever good that people think it's going to invite into the world, but I do acknowledge its existence and I do acknowledge that it affects me, even if I'm not in the war myself. So, what I'm saying is, I have to accept where I am in the world, and I am in a place where I cannot stop wars. I can only control how I react to it. And this leads us to radical love. When we choose compassion as our guiding principle, we are getting closer to practicing radical love. Now, think about Jesus Christ, think about Gandhi, Bell Hooks, who practiced radical love as she was facing racial injustice. Nadia Murad, who was captured by ISIS and sexually tortured. When she escaped, she practiced radical love in her community by talking very openly about sexual violence and trying to transform a community, not only to empower survivors, but to, put the oppressors on notice that they needed to change too. Obviously, Martin Luther King Jr. is somebody in contemporary American history that we know practiced radical love. And Maximilian Kolbe, he was a Polish priest during World War II Holocaust. And when he encountered a man who was a Jewish man who was being arrested and being sent to Auschwitz, this man was crying out for his wife and his children. And this priest was moved to such compassion that he went up to the captors and said, "Take me instead." And for 2 weeks, he prayed with the prisoners until he died of starvation. This is radical love. And when we talk about compassion, it's a little bit different from empathy. Empathy means, man, I hear you, I feel you. Compassion takes it a step further. I feel you, and I want to do something to make you feel better. This is compassion. Compassion is when we extend humanity to others as we choose to live this path. Jesus prayed for his enemies, and he even said, love your enemies as yourself, and as you love your friends, love them all the same. And we must remember to include ourselves in this compassion. Sometimes our biggest enemy is ourself, except especially when we let the mind go crazy, like I do. I'm an overthinker and I'm up in my head all the time. And I have found that I have in my life have often have been my own worst enemy. And we need to not do this. We need to treat ourselves with great compassion, just as you would somebody who's easy to love. And how do we do this? So we're doing our meditation, we're detaching and we're practicing the calming of our nervous system. But we know this is not the end. We have to go forward. What can I do? I can't change the world. I can't take away its misery. I can't take away its violence. I can't take away the oppression. So what can I do? So I find in my life what is sustainable to me, what I can't do, what I'm unable to do. But I have to look at what I am able to do. Can I you know, maybe on a Saturday morning, if I have a few hours, maybe I'm getting a bunch of garbage bags together and some gloves, and I'm going down the street or I go to a park somewhere and I just start picking up garbage. And maybe some people are going to drive past me and think I'm part of a chain gang. It doesn't matter. I'm picking up garbage. I'm trying to make my world a little bit better for myself and the others around me. I see somebody who I know is having a hard time, I might ask them, can I give you a hug? And it might be hard for me to ask because maybe I get rejected. But what counts is that you offered it. And even if they don't want the hug from you, they know you care. So offer to give somebody a hug. Listen to them. When somebody is talking, listen. One thing that I often do, I don't do it enough, but one thing I often do is I'll get like, little index cards, and I will write a little note to somebody, and I will say one thing that I notice about them, but it's got to be specific. It's, like you can write something and you can say, "Oh, you're such a nice person," and give it to somebody, and it's very nice to do. But I'll notice something that they've done or something they said or maybe even something they wore that day that made them look especially pretty. And, I'll write it down on a card or something or an email and send it to them. Just little things like this. Um, Again, most of us cannot change the world, but we can change our environment around us, our own little communities, our family, friends, our neighborhoods, where we work, etc. Just your own sphere, you can make it a much better place to be while creating healthy boundaries for yourself. And this gets hard, especially if you have a caretaking type of personality. Boy, you have to take care of yourself too. You can feel it. You can feel your own boundary. You can start to feel if you're getting resentful, if you've taken on some type of caretaker, for example, situation. I remember when my mother was sick, right before she died, I was her caretaker, and I never resented it. I knew she was dying, and that was my mom, and I wanted to be there for her. So she was not a burden to me. But of course, it was very hard, as so many of you know. And the doctor was telling me, you need to take a break. You need to go to the beach. You need to do some yoga. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to take a nap. And they were right, because how can I give to her when I have nothing to give? So I had to take good care of myself, and not just to take care of her, but to take care of me, because they were trying to tell me that I counted too. And you count. So as you're practicing compassion, again, practice compassion with yourself. And part of that is establishing healthy boundaries. So, as we move forward, a simple daily practice for yourself, when bad news comes your way, because it's been coming your way and it will continue to come your way. I don't, I am not an advocate of somebody who says, you know, just just start to feel compassion, because if you're going 100, how can you just automatically on a dime go down to zero? You're going 100. So what you need to get back down to zero is you're yeah at 100, then you have to slow down to 90, and then maybe to 75, and then to 50, and then to 20, and then finally you can get to zero. So allow yourself for a moment to feel rage or fear or sorrow. Go ahead, have that reaction, because there's nothing wrong with being emotional. Human beings are emotional beings. Feel it. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself that moment, and then you're going to pause and you're going to breathe. Deep inhales, slow exhales, and practice this breath work for as long as you need to. Once you've calmed down, make the active choice to choose compassion and radical acceptance and radical love in the face of the situation. And it's not easy to do, but at least tell yourself that you're willing to do it. And you think of your enemy and just tell yourself you're willing to hear them out. You're willing to hear the enemy out, because that is one of the first steps to peace. And then you yourself commit to one small action that you can take that day. And maybe it's not much because you're exhausted, but maybe it's to yourself. You want to be healthy. So maybe you're taking a walk. You know, walks are wonderful. Taking a walk is not only physically healthy, it is mentally and emotionally healthy. Maybe today you're just taking a walk. Maybe tomorrow you're calling somebody who's having a hard time as well with whatever situation is going on, and you're taking that walk together. So commit to one small action every day in the face of bad news. Pause, accept, and do something that is that helps you cultivate your strength and comes from a place of compassion. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. So now what I would like to do is guide you through a meditation. So if you are not in a place where you can comfortably meditate, pause this video, get yourself into some comfortable loose clothing, and find an equally, if not more, comfortable place to lay down or to sit. Make sure you have some water or tea waiting for you after your meditation is over. And then finally, you're going to close your eyes and you're going to relax your body. And here we go. You find yourself sitting on the foothills of a mountainous region. And in front of you is a great expanse, a great valley. And across from you is the horizon. The sun is going down. And there's this beautiful red, pinkish, orangish, orange-ish light covering you in warmth and in a soft beauty. And you breathe in and you breathe out. As you're looking over this great landscape, you notice on the left side of your vision, there's a train track and there's a train coming through. And as more of that train begins to appear in your visual perspective, think about each of those cars. And each car contains maybe your rage, at your spouse or your fear of war or your sorrow at a death of your neighbor or whatever it is that is bothering you, put those pains and those struggles into each of those cars that is rolling around the or coming up the track in that train that is encroaching, and it is coming through the left side of your vision, and you're watching it pass. You're not trying to stop it. You're not focused on any one car. You're just watching that train come, and you're going to let it go. And it is moving through the mid part of your vision now. And it's kind of blocking out the sun, but the sun is still there. It's always there. The warmth and the beautiful light is there for you. And that train is now beginning to pass. It is going out the right side of your field of vision. And with it are all of your anxieties, all of your worries, all of your frustrations going away with it. Breathe in, breathe out. Slow inhales, deep exhales, and breathe. Feel that light, see that diffuse, colorful light coming from the sun that is setting. And notice how that light bathes the landscape around you. And find yourself in this beautiful place. And you and the earth are part of each other. And you belong together. And that train is come and gone. And maybe another train is coming, but that train will go too. And we let it come and we let it go. We don't stop the train. We don't focus on any one car. We just know that trains come and trains go. But what remains is the beauty and the light that never goes away. Begin to awaken your physical body by wiggling your fingers and your toes. Slowly and gently move your head from side to side. And with soft focus, begin to open your eyes. Keep that deep breath going. Deep inhales, slow exhales. As we open our hands and loosen our grip on the way things should be, we remember that acceptance is not to surrender to life, but acceptance is a doorway into compassion. And may we walk through that doorway with courage and with love and with an open heart for yourself, for all others, and for this glorious planet that is a gift to us. And I leave this with you with all of my good wishes and intentions for you, that you can walk forward as an agent of change and a fellow human being filled with compassion. And I'm always here for you, and I'll see you next time.